welcome back to another episode on Anxiety Doesn't Own Me podcast. My name is Emmanuel Isaacson, and I'm an anxiety coach who helps people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally. Today's episode, what it's going to be about is change. How to deal with change, how we look at change in such a negative way, and how we can actually change the way we think of change in a positive way and look at it in a positive light, so that way we don't feel anxious. Because I know that a lot of people, even without an anxiety disorder, that they don't like change. Most people don't like change. They like that routine that they have every single day. And whenever something needs to be changed, they get scared, which is anxiety. But again, with the anxiety disorder, it's different. But in generally speaking, whenever there's change happening, most people, the way we look at it, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's an unknown thing. So whenever we don't have change, right, we have something that routine, we already know what's going to happen. Like, for example, whenever somebody is working at a job, ready for so many years, and that person gets fired, all of a sudden they start panicking, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? How am I going to make money? What am I going to do? How am I going to find a different job? I really like this job. I felt comfortable in this job. Now how it's going to be. And right away we're going into this kind of like we're spiraling with these negative thoughts into a place that kind of like we don't want to experience. Because if you realize, we're looking at the change as a negative thing. But if we change the way we see change, which again, it's hard to do. That's why it's hard for us to overcome our anxiety, because there's a lot of changes that we need to do within us. But if we change the way we look at the change and say, you know what, maybe this may be an opportunity for a new job, a better job, a higher paying job, a place that's going to treat me better. Who says that right away you losing your job is a bad thing? It's you that's saying that. It's you that's instilling it within yourself. It may be a good thing for you, and we may not see it right now. Or we may be comfortable in a place that we want to change, but we're like, you know what? I'm already comfortable in this situation. I already know this situation. I prefer staying in this situation than doing something that I don't know what's going to happen. And this can happen a lot with us with anxiety, that we feel comfortable with our anxiety, even though we don't want the anxiety. We don't want the anxiety, which is, it's kind of like the opposite of what we actually want, but at the same time, we don't want to do what's necessary because of the way it's going to make us feel, the way we're going to increase our anxiety in a way. It may increase. So, like, for example, if we need to go out of our house, right? We're afraid of leaving our house. That triggers our anxiety. What happens is that we get comfortable at home. We get comfortable in our house, right? We just stay there like, you know what? I'm comfortable over here. Even though we don't want to stay at home. We don't want to be at home. But we just feel comfortable because we don't want to experience that anxiety. But in order for us to overcome our anxiety, we need to start working on getting out of the house every single day, taking step by step to make that change. Because majority of the time, change is a good thing. Change is something that's good. And I can even, of my own personal life, where things I didn't want to change. Like, I did not want to come back to New York. I did not want to come back to New York. I'm not a big fan of New York. It's just because of the cold, and it's just very, very cramped. And I love fields. I love open places. I like calmer places, warmer places. And I just didn't want to come back to New York. But what happened was that it was one of the best things because I met my wife. When I came back to New York, I met my wife. And I said to myself, like, if I never came back, because I was afraid of the change, and I didn't like the change, I didn't want to, but the best thing that ever happened to me was that I met my wife. And now I have two wonderful, amazing kids that I love. Every single day when I come home, I love seeing them. It's amazing. Like, I never thought in my life that, hey, you know what? This can be a good thing for me. Even with our second child, we weren't ready for a second child. And whenever she came, it was very difficult for the transition from one child
to 2 children, it was very difficult for us. But after a while, we start getting used to it. I'm like, you know what? Now my daughter's almost 8 months, and I'm like, I'm so happy that we had this kid. So it was a good thing in the end. It may have seemed in the beginning it was very difficult, and it was very hard, and not something that we were ready for. But it was one of the best things that ever happened, because she's just really cute and she's really funny, and it's amazing. So sometimes we may look at the change as a negative thing, but we need to start looking at it more in a positive way. Like whenever I was changing my career to become an anxiety coach, that's a change. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to become successful. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. But I had to talk myself and say, Manuel, you went through anxiety. You are going to be able to help people. You are going to become successful in this thing. I had to talk myself and tell myself, like, why am I right away looking at the negative? Why is it right away, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to fail. Where is that evidence? Where is that evidence that's going to happen? Who says that you're not going to succeed in this? Just because you don't know how it's going to happen and what you need to do and how it's going to work doesn't mean something bad is going to happen. It just means that you need to figure out, and you will figure it out. And you will be able to figure that out at the end of the day, and it will happen. We just need to look at it more in a positive way. Like right now, I want to move out of New York. I kind of want to move more to a warmer weather place. That's what I want. I don't want to experience any more winter. But I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen if I move out of New York. Like right now, I have my family over here, and if sometimes when you need help with the kids, it really does help. I'm like, over there, we're going to be by ourselves, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I said to myself, like, why are you right away thinking that something bad is going to happen? Maybe it's going to be a good thing. Maybe this is going to benefit you at the end of the day, and you may not realize it right now. You may not realize it right now, and it may be hard for you to see it right now, but you just need to take the chance. Set yourself up, of course. I'm not saying that now, for example, just get up and just leave. No, do it in a way that you're going to set yourself up normally and you can go there. Same thing with our anxiety. Whenever we're trying to overcome our anxiety, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be times where we need to put ourselves in a very uncomfortable situation. Like if you're afraid of leaving your house, you're going to have to leave your house. You're going to have to try it every single day. You can prepare yourself beforehand and know, okay, whenever I'm out of my house, these are the things that I could be doing. Like, for example, whenever this is called exposure therapy, that you're basically exposing yourself to the thing that's triggering your anxiety and telling yourself, like, hey, I'm safe in this place. This is a safe place. That will help you to calm down. That will help you to feel much calmer. And every single day, you can take one step forward every single day until you get to 5 feet, 10 feet, 100 feet, until you're going to see every single day you're going to start expanding. And that you can make that change little by little. Because that way you can actually take back control of your life and you can actually feel like, hey, I'm in control. Not my anxiety, not my situation or anything like that. Me, myself. It may be hard. It's not an easy thing and it's not a comfortable thing, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. It's worth it to overcome my anxiety. And we can look at it in a positive way and say, you know what? I'm going to leave my house and I'm going to have an amazing time. I'm going to feel so good. I'm going to feel calmer when I'm outside. I'm going to feel relaxed. That's what we can tell us instead of thinking right away like, oh my God, I'm going to have a panic attack. I'm going to faint, or whatever fear that you have when you're outside. So we can change that. And we can apply this with everything in life, with everything. You may be in a relationship that you may not be happy and you see it's not growing and you're trying to change and it's not working, but you're sitting there because you're afraid. You're afraid of the change. You don't know what's going to happen if you leave this relationship. You don't know what's going to happen if you change the relationship. Maybe I might not find anybody. Maybe I may end up alone, or maybe I find somebody even worse, or maybe my situation in the next relationship is going to be the same. So what's the point? But we can tell ourselves like, hey, maybe I am going to find somebody that's going to be amazing, and we're going to grow together, and we're going to have a great time. We're going to have an amazing relationship, and I'm be happy because I deserve it. And you can forget about the deserve. You can put that aside regardless. You can just do it for yourself. Do it for yourself because that's something that you want and you're trying to be happy. You're trying to feel good in your life. So we're going to have to make certain things. We're going to have to take certain chances. And while we're doing that, I know that it's a hard thing. I know it's not an easy thing. I'm not saying that it is. But we can start working towards accepting the change. Because one thing that never changes is change. Change always happens. And I think about this sometimes. I remember now I'm 32 years old. And I think about it when I was a kid. I'm like, wow, I miss being a kid sometimes. I miss that. How life was so different. How life was so easygoing in a way. Lack of responsibility, just having fun, friends, going out. It was a different time. And I'm like, wow, I miss those times. I'm like, I don't like this change that's happening in a way, because I miss those times. I'm like, I don't like this change that's happening and how the world is even changing. Right before, when I was a kid, there was no technology. It wasn't like it is today where you have the phones and everything. Back then, there was no phones and people were more interactive. There was no social media or anything like that. And I was like, wow, I miss those days. I miss those days whenever there was no social media, no phones or anything like that. How life used to be so different. But you see, life changes. It's impossible for it to be the same. It's impossible for it. And that is something that we kind of need to accept. We need to accept that. Like, hey, change is going to happen. I cannot control that. What I could control is my reaction to change. That's what I could control. Like here, take for example, whenever you first experienced anxiety. You never thought in your entire life you would experience something like this. I never thought that. It completely changed my entire life. It threw me off completely, and this is not something that I expected to happen at all. I wasn't expecting this to happen at all, but it changed my entire life, and it was hard in the beginning, and I know it is hard for you. Like, man, all I want is to go back to the person that I once was. That's all I want to do, but as we know, we can't go back. We can't go back, and we have to look at this situation as an opportunity. That's what we need to look at changes whenever things happen. Like, you know what? This may be an opportunity that, for me, my own personal experience is that I became an anxiety coach and now I help other people. If I never went through an anxiety disorder, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to help other people. So I'm so grateful for this and I'm so happy that this happened to me. I really am. So the change happened. I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, it came out to be good. So whenever we're looking at change, we can look at past situations as well and say, you know what? I had those times where things changed and I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I kind of worked out in the end. It kind of was a good thing, and I never realized it. Because again, we're living in our own head, and our head is creating this reality. It's creating this reality, it's making us feel a certain way. But if we change the thought, the reality in our mind of how we see things, we can change the way we feel about those things. Instead of looking at a new thing as a bad thing, we can look at it as a new thing as a good thing. Like whenever I became a parent, I remember whenever my wife gave birth and I was holding the baby because she had a C-section the first time. It was an emergency C-section. So I was sitting there and I remember the doctor handed over me my daughter. And I was sitting there, I was 30 years old, and she was like, "What's the name of the baby?" And it kind of like hit me, like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "I'm gonna be I'm a father." I'm like, I don't know what the name is. I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even. It kind of like we talked about the name and everything, but I said to her, I'm like, maybe when we see her face, it kind of comes to you, and it kind of like, yeah, this matches her. So whenever the doctor told me that, I was like, whoa, I'm an actual father. I'm like, how the hell are we going to take care of this human being? Like, that's scary. Like, how am I going to take care of this human being? And this is something that you love. Like, I really love my daughter. And as I was holding her, I was like freaking out a little bit. I'm like, how am I going to do this? How are we going to do this? Like, how does anything work? We don't know anything. Like, what's going to happen? And like you think about the worst possible scenarios, like what if she stops breathing, and like you're always sitting there making sure that she's breathing, and like you're like, what if something bad happens and you don't know what happens, and what if she gets a fever, and what if this, and what if that, and boom, 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 boom. Like you're thinking about a million things, and I remember sitting there, I'm like, okay, I don't have control over this. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to learn exactly what needs to be done. I'm willing to learn, and we are going to try our best. And you know what? Everything was fine. Everything worked out. Everything went smoothly. My daughter right now is 2.5 years old. And things just came to us, and we kind of understood, okay, this is what needs to be done. We did research, we asked people, we prayed, whatever it is, guidance, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, we figured it out. But I came to that point, I'm like, Emmanuel, okay, it's not going to help you to freak out, because this is something new completely new. Like, you're a new parent. You don't know anything. Me and my wife didn't know anything of what to do. So you're kind of freaking out in the beginning. But after a while, like, okay, you know what? I'm thinking about all these negative things going to happen, but everything turned out to be fine. And I'm going to try my best. I'm going to learn and everything, whatever I could do, in order for the situation to be fine, to be able to work out the way I want it to be. But I'm going to think about it, and I said to myself, I'm going to change the way I look at it, the way I look at the situation. Instead of being stressed out about and making sure that my daughter's going to live and that she's, like nothing, God forbid, happens to her or anything like that. I'm going to look at it like, my daughter's going to be fine. She's going to be healthy. She's going to grow, and everything's going to work out. And now she's 2.5 years old, and everything's fine. When the second child, we weren't even worried. We weren't even stressed out or anything like that, because we already know what to do. But you see, sometimes we need to go through that change, and a lot of people are afraid of it, like getting, settling down, finding the right person, or even getting married or having kids, because they're afraid of what's going to happen. But sometimes that fear is just an illusion, and it's creating this certain reality. We need to snap out of it by kind of like looking more in a positive way so that we can start feeling much better. Guys, change isn't easy. It does happen, and we need to be prepared in order for us to be able to handle the change and to look at it in a different kind of way and accept it that a change is going to happen. If you did like this episode, please click the like button and leave a 5-star review. The reason why I ask is because this way we're able to reach more people, and the more people that we can actually reach, the more people that we can actually help. Because my mission in this world, my purpose, is to help people to overcome and heal their anxiety naturally and show them that it's possible to overcome. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.